And now, the main news on Radio Tegalo, brought to you by Moose Milling and Zambia Catholic University.
Radio Changlo, restoring everything in Christ with love and truth. Good afternoon with the main news. I'm Kennedy Mbewe Jr. The headlines. Other alternative sources of energy proposed. Learners with special needs cry foul. Nkana and Kito United to clash this afternoon. The headlines, the details rather. An engineer has recommended biomass energy, a process which involves burning of human waste, agricultural and stock feed waste to produce electricity as another option to mitigate the power deficit currently facing the country. In his presentation at the Engineering Institution of Zambia, EIZ Public Forum held at Pamo Hotel last night, Mwango Mukai says biomass provides a viable alternative as a sustainable and renewable energy source. Engineer Mwango, who is also EIZ Kitwe branch chairperson, explained that the biomass does not only provide energy but also help to conserve trees by replacing the use of charcoal in households. He said it is puzzling to see how the country is load-shedded by ZESCO, especially that 60% of the country's population, a representation of 7.2 million people, is not connected to the national electricity grid. He said for this to be achieved, there was need for collective efforts.
Privilege. It is a situation whereby if I get something, I keep it to myself. With that kind of approach, we definitely are not going to get anywhere as a nation. So as a people, we need to open dialogue as it were. So under the circumstances, personally, I think where we are missing it, we are doing it as separate individuals. But this is a problem for all of us as a nation. So we need to sit down together, professionals, politicians, and everyone. We come on board, and then we push in the same direction. As a consequence, we are going to achieve it as a country. And I know it's not impossible.
And speaking earlier, EIZ Northern Region Vice Chairperson, Engineer Musonda Chansa, says the platform provided an opportunity for engineers to network and give homegrown solutions to various problems facing the country.
Is that this institution must perform its relevance and mandate for the betterment of our country and the communities we serve as professionals. Our aim of picking such topics is to educate and inform one another on the happenings regarding the power deficit, so that even when we are questioned as professionals, we shall be able to give answers because we are informed.
At the same forum, various issues focusing on the plight of engineers were raised, and the Engineering Institution of Zambia was accused of not being active in protecting its members. But EIZ Vice President, Membership and Continuous Development Program, Monica Milupi, argued and said the institution has been doing its mandate of regulating the engineering practice in the country. Engineer Milupi explained that it is not the duty of EIZ to negotiate for remuneration of engineers in workplaces.
To regulate engineering practice. As was mentioned earlier, what we need to look at is whether the people who are coming are qualified or not qualified to do the job. For us as EIZ, we've always been clear that we shall always protect the engineer in that no one should come and do the work for the Zambian. If the Zambian can do that job, will not agree to give them the work permits.
The National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACASE, has held government for extending the date of reopening schools from January 4th to January 18, 2021. Ministry of General Education Permanent Secretary Jobix Kalumba has announced in a circular that schools will reopen for the first term in 2021 on January 18 and not January 4 as earlier announced. NACASE Executive Director Aaron Chansa said the change in the reopening of the 2021 school calendar will allow teachers to finish invigilating national examinations, attend to festivities, and adequately prepare for the first term. Mr. Chansa has also held government for heeding to the stakeholders' concerns in the education sector on the need to extend the reopening date for the 2021 first term owing to a number of activities that have been undertaken in the third term.
Very busy. They are invigilating exams. They are supposed to mark exams. And 18th, in our view, is very ideal. It will enable teachers to attend to these other important national assignments and also attend to festivities and have some time to rest in order to prepare well for 2021. We want to commend the ministry for doing this. It's very progressive, and the teachers across the country are jubilating and feel that the ministry cares about them. As an organization, we commend the ministry, and we seriously hope that the government will seriously consider the plight of teachers in 2021.
Moving on, a clergyman in Kitwe says there is nothing wrong with the prisoners exercising their right to vote. Good News Jail and Prison Ministry chaplain Mwenyalombe says inmates have only been denied the right of movement, but the other rights remain intact. Speaking in an interview with Radio Chingle News, Pastor Lombe said he was looking forward to seeing prisoners vote in next year's general elections. He is, however, hopeful that many prisoners will be captured in the voter registration exercise that has been extended to Sunday next week.
N'abanesi nabo bene balikwata ensambu esho bapokwafye n'ensambu ishamayendere. Lero ensambu ishakuvota, ensambu ishakulya, ensambu ishakufwala, ensambu ishakwikala bwino balikwata ensambu shawo. So ukulingana na ine palwandi nakabungo kesu tulekoselesha ukutira onse umfungwa ukwete emyaka iringiro kuvota kuti akonka efyo olupapula lwakyo kyesu kya Zambia lulanda n'okulembesha pakuti mwine akasalibamo ekyo baliranire okuti abafungwa tabakwire okuvota baleba nomba kuti bayisi bashanikateeka mufifungo epingi pali inonsa mwali bama TV mufifungo epingi pali inonsa mwali bama radio mufifungo epingi balafunisha okutandala fo bene kwe bali kuno kunsolto abatandalira kuti wabeba kwedyashi.
The Zambia Federation of Disability Organizations, ZAFODA, says it appreciates efforts being undertaken by the Examination Council of Zambia, ECZ, to ensure that learners with special needs participate in the education sector. ZAFOD Federal Director Justin Bakali notes that his organization has, however, observed that various children with special education are disadvantaged during exams set by the ECZ. Mr. Bakali also says that despite giving extra time to learners with special needs during exams, the scripts are not accompanied by any documentation that clearly states that the papers being marked are from learners with special needs. ZAFODA has since appealed to ECZ and the line ministries to work on the challenges.
The marking of their scripts. We have observed that despite observing the policy of giving them a bit of some time when they're writing exams, these transcripts, they are not accompanied by any documentation to help the markers so that when they mark these transcripts, they are able to take into account that the child's scripts or the paper they are marking is for a child with a special education needs. Therefore, we want to appeal to Examination Council of Zambia to see how the markers can also be assisted.
Luansha Mayor Nathan Chanda is angered with the stealing over 3,000 bags of fertilizer under the Farmers Input Support Program in the district. A scam has been unearthed in Luansha district where over 3,000 bags of fertilizer has gone missing. Mr. Chanda said Copperbelt Permanent Secretary Bright Nondo should not just end at warning and threatening the involved civil servants, but that action should be taken quickly.
End at warning and threatening the involved civil servants, but you must take stern action. This is a very bad attitude by these unpatriotic civil servants, because the missing of over 3,000 bags of fertilizer, which was supposed to have been distributed, as well as benefit over 500 farmers who are complaining, because here in Luansha, over 9,000 farmers are on feces.
Mr. Nunwe said it was unacceptable for civil servants to steal fertilizer that is aimed at enhancing food security for the nation. He told journalists in Ndola that once the investigations are concluded, action will be taken. The stealing of fertilizer means that over 500 farmers in Luansha will be affected. Chiefs have been advised against engaging themselves in politics ahead of the 2021 general elections. European Ndola District Chairperson Joseph Piri said it was regrettable that some chiefs have gone to the extent of endorsing presidential candidates. Mr. Piri said chiefs should be seen providing a parental role to all political parties without segregation. He spoke to journalists in Ndola.
Chiefs not to play partisan politics. This is because chiefs are our parents, whether opposition or party in government. We are saying this because so far we have heard some chiefs being paraded to endorse the candidature. Please, our parents, it is always imperative for chiefs to be neutral as it comes to politics. Play a role of advisors to these politicians. It ends there. You will not lose anything. In that respect, we will continue. We will respect our chiefs.
In sports, Ankana and Kitwe United this afternoon renew their old rivalry when they clash in the Kitwe Derby at Ankana Stadium in Usakile. Kalamba and Chingalika are meeting in the rescheduled Week 6 match. Across the road, Power Dynamos are hosting Night Stars at Arthur Davis Stadium. In Ndola, Forest Rangers are taking on league leaders Butcon at the Levy Manawasa Stadium. This news broadcast comes to you in the community service of Radio Chengala with compliments of Mose Milling and Zambia Catholic University. International news as monitored from the BBC. Tougher coronavirus restrictions are coming into force in large parts of Europe, with Germany imposing its strictest measures since the pandemic began. In the Netherlands, schools and non-essential shops are closed, and Britain has introduced new measures in London. In the latest 24 hours period, Germany registered more than 950 virus-related deaths. Jen Hughes reports.
We're expecting bad news this morning. Officials in the state of Saxony, which is particularly badly affected, didn't report their case numbers or deaths yesterday, so the addition of those statistics this morning may be partly to blame for the miserable new record death toll. Even so, the figure will shock many as they prepare for a Christmas in lockdown. From today, shops and schools will close. Bars, restaurants, arts and leisure facilities shut last month in a so-called lockdown light, which has failed to contain the second wave.
So let's now get the BBC with a roundup of stories.
National leaders have held their first face-to-face meetings in months to discuss a coronavirus stimulus package. All four have agreed that Congress should not adjourn for the Christmas break without approving an economic relief deal. Here's David Willis.
Democrats and Republicans have been at loggerheads for months over the terms of a new financial stimulus plan. Democrats want to see funding to ensure that state and local government workers are not laid off, and that would amount to around $1 trillion or so. Republicans object to that. Less contentious is the proposal that such a bill would also provide funding for small businesses, financial support for vaccine distribution, and so on.
Facebook says it's removed rival networks, one linked to Russia and the other to the French military, that it says have been creating hundreds of fake accounts and spreading false information in Africa. The French network makes claims about alleged Russian interference in the Central African Republic, Mali, and elsewhere. Facebook said the Russian-backed accounts were associated with the same individuals indicted for election meddling in the United States.
And on that note, we end this afternoon's main news on Radio Chinglo. For these and more stories, you can visit our Facebook page, log on to Facebook and like the Radio Chinglo page, link to Radio Chinglo.radio12345.com. You can as well listen to Radio Chinglo on Radio Garden. Remember, COVID-19 is still real, therefore wear a mask when in public, avoid large groups and maintain social distance, avoid unnecessary movements, and always wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Mbewe Jr. Thank you so very much for listening. We have Elias Chumchuremba coming your way at 16 hours. Keep on keeping on listening to the Lunch Break Drive with Francis Chapa.